Amy, remember a couple years back for your Sweet 16, we all here at AM 560 chipped in to get you a happy birthday message from Tony Scaramucci?
Happy birthday, Amy Jacobson. Woo! 50 years old.
Oh my God, 50?
Pretty
29.
amazing. Dan, your co hosts, Justin and Quinn, your producers, are giving you the shout out. Now, I understand you're the co host of Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer. Now, listen, I know you mispronounce names all the time on the air.
It's true.
And I should really be messing up your name, but I'm wondering maybe you'll invite me on the show and then you can mispronounce my name.
Okay.
But 11/11 on Veterans Day, the big 5-0 for Amy Jacobson. Happy birthday, and the Mooch family wishes you many more.
That was
That's
a
nice.
little aggressive of Mooch to out
Right.
your age. I think a happy birthday is the appropriate, without mentioning age,
No.
for a woman of a certain age.
Oh, okay. Well, I'd say it happens to you, but it already happened to you.
Yeah. All right.
Welcome to the club.
We're happy to talk to Anthony Scaramucci again.
It's Scaramucci, okay?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So,
That
well,
hurt. That hurt.
yeah,
I've been
yeah.
called worse than that, Amy.
well, that's what the name assassinator does. Of course, the Mooch is the managing partner of Skybridge Capital, briefly served as the White House comms director under Trump. He has just released a new book, From Wall Street to the White House and Back, The Scaramucci Guide to Unbreakable Resilience. It actually sounds like a title of a book that Trump might write, except it would be The Trump Guide to Unbreakable Resilience. Anthony Scaramucci, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Well, just to be clear, Trump has never read a book and has never written one. But anyway, that's fine. And Amy, happy birthday to you. I was told to say you were 50, but I know that you're only 29.
Thank
There
you.
you
I know
go.
that was fake. I know that was fake news.
It's fake news.
Yeah.
You read
Yes,
anything they
exactly.
put in front of you, huh?
All right. So,
Anything for money, as you know.
Uh,
Amy. I think the $30 that Dan paid me went to the Brain Tumor Foundation.
hey.
Anyway, happy
Yeah,
birthday.
no, it did.
again.
Every
It
little
did.
bit helps.
Yep.
Yeah. Based on the comment that you just offered, you haven't rekindled your relationship with the former president.
Well, listen, it's nothing personal to him. It's just if you look at the series of things that he's doing and the series of things that he's saying, it just represents a danger to America. This is an aspirational country. This is not a country that's looking for a leader to propose vengeance and retribution against his opponents. I had General Milley speak at one of my events last week.
Yes.
He's called for the assassination of the former Joint Chiefs of Staff, head of the U.S. military. I mean, this is the type of stuff that he's saying. So don't go by me. Just look at the list of things that he's saying. If you disagree with him on the air, he wants to pull your FCC license. He says to his defense counsel, who left his defense because he couldn't take it, said that he's going to use the FBI as the Gestapo. Don't go by me. Just go listen to what he is saying.
Okay. Well, one of the things he said is that my vengeance is going to be America's success. He's also said that.
Well, yes, that is classic Trump, and so he's the fork-tongued double entendre user because he realizes that the line that I'm using right now is going against him. So then he'll flip and say that, and then they fed those talking points to people like Tom Cotton and Marco Rubio to try to blunt out some of the other stuff that he's saying. And I understand his personality very well. Remember, I didn't just work for him 11 days in the White House. I was on the campaign with him for a year. He didn't think he was going to win. We didn't think he was going to win. He won. He was doing an okay job, but the rhetoric coming out of the White House and then some of the things that he was saying about people and then the way he mishandled COVID, I don't think we want to go back to that level of chaos. That's me.
Well, you think Biden's
You've got a
better?
different
I
opinion.
mean, you talk about chaos. Like there was a bag of cocaine found in the West Wing. There was their dog that was attacking people. His son is going to court today for felony gun charges. I mean, and not to mention the economy and inflation. And do you think you're better off with Biden in office?
So I think the system is better. I agree that these are not. I'm in the category of the 83% of the American people that wish we had two different choices, and I don't think people that respectively at age 78 which Donald Trump will be on Election Day in age 81, these are the right ages for that job. These guys are too old, frankly, for that job. And I don't mind saying that on your air. But I think the system is better. When you go to somebody like Vice President Pence or Secretary Esper or Secretary Tillerson or General Milley, and you sit with them and you talk to them about the president's behavior, his mannerisms, his disregard for the system and the U.S. Constitution, I'm going with the system. As Mark Esper would say to you, I can deal with policy disagreements. What I can't deal with is unitary executive power. And so your listener should Google that. President Trump believes in that. He wants to widen the birth of power for the executive branch and weaken the judiciary, and he wants to weaken the legislative branch of the country. And anytime a system does that, it wrecks the system. You lose predictability in the law. And again, go back to what I just said about the FCC. He's been very clear about that. He wants to staff the FCC with people that will go after his adversaries in the media. I don't want that. I think that's a break of the 250-year experiment. You guys live in the land of Lincoln. Lincoln preserved the Union and the system. And even though we may disagree with each other, or we may disagree with the other to the same rhetoric and extent of the Civil War 160 years ago, I don't want to break the system. So I would like to wait it out until we get rid of Trump and we find somebody else in the system that's center right that respects the democracy. Donald Trump does not respect the democracy.
I mean, with all due respect, all this unitary executive power business. I mean, good grief. The presidency the executive has been expanded in power. I mean, go back to Arthur Schlesinger's 1973 book, The Imperial Presidency. I mean, historians have been talking about this since Donald Trump was, just cutting his teeth in real estate in New York City. So, I mean, the whole expansion of the you don't think it's expanded under Obama and Biden, where they do things that they know are unconstitutional. They concede are unconstitutional. Obama did it with DACA. Biden is effectively doing with student loan forgiveness. I mean, that's just happening. And the system is not static. The system of the Reagan presidency is completely different than the system of 2024 America. And that's the fault of both parties that have greatly expanded Leviathan. And Donald Trump has had a very small part in that over that period of time, if you add some perspective to it. So, I mean, to put this all on his doorstep, particularly with 4 years as president, where he was, frankly, outside of the rhetoric, a rather conventional Republican politician, policy-wise, I just think is a little distorted, frankly.
Okay. Do I get a second to respond?
Yeah,
then?
please go ahead.
All right. So let's go to Schlesinger's book for a second. You bring up the book. Schlesinger was actually indicting the Congress in that book. What he was basically saying
I understand.
is that the Congress did not want to be accused of going to war. The Congress ceded the power to the executive branch. And so what's really at stake, since you're bringing it up, is that we don't amend the Constitution anymore. We've got 27 amendments to the Constitution. The country's 250 years old, so it's roughly one amendment every 8 years. And what Schlesinger was calling for was a revitalization of the document. But to your point, which I give to you, we are now in an oligarchic duopoly. You've got powers at the top of the system that have gerrymandered themselves into power. They won't leave power. I think Chuck Grassley, the senator from Iowa, I think he's probably the great-grandfather of George Washington. He will not leave. Nancy Pelosi's 83. She's running for re-election. And so we've now set up a system that these people don't want to change or reform, and it's hurting a new generation of Americans. So that's on the system. That's not Donald Trump. But what is on Donald Trump is the chaos that he's capable of wreaking. What's on Donald Trump is the potential revocation of NATO. What's on Donald Trump, for some reason, he's a cipher of Vladimir Putin. None of us that work for him, myself on the campaign, anybody that was in the White House can understand why he's a sycophant of Vladimir Putin or why he praises autocrats around the world. None of us can understand that. So So if you step back and you look at the Trump worldview, he wants to bring the country back to the 1890s. The Trump doctrine is about walling off the country literally and physically from the rest of the world and disavowing the David Ricardo principle of global trade. This country can't do that. He's calling for the deportation of 15 million people in the country. And so I guess that means we're going to have the Handmaid's Tale going on in the country, armored vehicles with SWAT teams pulling people out of homes and sending them, I guess, across the border or wherever he wants to send them. So I hear what you're saying, and I respect the people that are voting for Donald Trump. I'm not one of those people that's a binary person. I'm a lifelong Republican. There were conventional policies that he supported that I was for, which is the reason why I went to work for him, raised the money, gave him my own money. But I do see the danger of him, and I think it's very, very important for somebody like me to be on record to express that danger. I don't want armored cars driving around the country deporting people.
Well,
I don't
think
want.
that's going to
Well, that's what he's saying.
well,
You got to look at.
But you want
what he's
people
saying.
still pouring in this country by the thousands every day? I mean, we have no border security.
No, I don't want that. And thankfully, the Republicans have put enough pressure on Joe Biden, where he just signed this executive order that, frankly, he should have signed 2.5 years ago.
He
I don't
voters.
want that. Okay, but Amy, come on, you've got to read what he is saying, and you've got to say, okay, am I signing up for this? 15 million people deported. The arguably the best treaty that has enforced peace and prosperity. We're about to be on the 80th anniversary of D-Day. The president wants to revoke that treaty. And, you've got the 101st Airborne in Poland for a reason. You've got places like Sweden and Finland that were not part of that treaty for the first 80 years that were desperate to get into that treaty. So those two countries understand the threat that exists. And we know, since you brought up Ronald Reagan, we know that we get peace through strength. And one of the ways you get strength and peace is through your strong alliances. Mr. Trump doesn't like those. Mr. Trump believes in isolationism. Mr. Trump believes in the tenets of America First, which comes with a lot of rhetoric from Huey Long and Charles Lindbergh. These are not things that the first Republicans, Abraham Lincoln being the first Republican president, would adhere to. Ronald Reagan wouldn't adhere to this stuff.
yeah.
Just listen to the rhetoric. Go through the list. Look at Project 2025, read through the platform that he wants to execute, and you tell me if that's an America you want to live in. Me, I'm a center-right guy. I'll wait it out. I'll fight with Joe Biden and his minions until we can get to somebody that's a competent guy like a Larry Hogan that understands where we are and understands the need for the country to have the alliances that it's had over the last 80 years.
I mean, you can listen to what politicians say, but as you well know, being around as long as you have, you watch what they do. And so when I watch what he does, I see the Abraham Accords. I see walking back the nuclearization of Iran deal that was initiated by Obama. I see walking away from the disastrous Paris Protocol, anti-industrial revolution nonsense of the leftists, the apocalyptic left. I see imposing sanctions on Russia. So, I mean, it's what sometimes he says and the manner in which he says it, and then what he actually does. And I think there's just a lot of people that are more focused on the substance of what he does and have sort of made peace with some of his rhetorical excesses.
Did he lose the election?
I think he lost the election with his choices on COVID. Yeah, I do.
Okay, but he's perpetuating. He knows he lost the election too, but he's perpetuating a very big lie that the election was stolen from him, and he never conceded the election, and he never helped his successor with the transition. I can't think of anything more un-American than that. You guys are in the Midwest. I don't know too many Midwesterners that are that sore of a loser. But this guy
Hillary
lost
Clinton
the
never
election.
Conceded, and neither did Stacey Abrams.
No, she conceded the election. That's not true.
Yeah,
Amy.
but she ran around saying it was stolen.
24 hours.
She ran around saying it was stolen
Hey guys,
Come
come
on.
on. She conceded the election.
And she's from the Midwest
conceded
too.
the election.
She's
She's from
mean.
Park Ridge.
Yeah.
Well, she was actually born in Pennsylvania, but
No, she
she
wasn't. Oh, she was
conceded.
born in
She
Pennsylvania.
was, yeah, she was.
Oh, she went to high
Yeah,
school
she was
here.
Park
born in
Ridge.
Wilkes-Barre. That's where
Yeah.
my father was born in the same town that she was born in.
Oh.
She moved to Chicago when she was 10.
Wow.
But yeah, now listen, you know, you don't want a guy that disavows the system to that extent.
Well,
You don't want a guy that has, you know, we're not even talking about the stuff that he's done here in New York that he got convicted of, okay? Because I'm sure you guys are going to side with him on that.
I'm going to side with the
But
law.
I'm gonna
on
side
that, actually.
precedent,
But
yeah.
anyway,
You're going to side with
They
the law.
changed the
Okay, then he's
statute
a
of
convicted
limitations
felon.
on both the criminal
no.
and the civil.
no.
No, okay,
No.
Amy, he's a convicted felon. Amy,
I know.
there were 12 jurists of his peers
Right.
that convicted him. Okay, so you want a convicted felon running the American presidency at this hour in America's history? I
I know
personally
you guys
don't.
celebrate George Floyd, and he was a convicted felon.
I don't celebrate George Floyd. I'm
You're the
a
Democratic Party.
lifelong.
You're
No,
lifelong
Amy,
Republican.
I'm a lifelong Republican. I'm a lifelong center-right guy. I've worked for George W. Bush. I worked for Mitt Romney. I worked for Jeb Bush. I helped Rudy Giuliani in his first successful campaign for mayor. I'm a lifelong Republican.
Okay.
What I am not is a destruction of the American system person. I don't believe in that. And I'm willing to fight for the system and be a patriot first and take a back seat to the partisanship that's going on. And I will say something to the both of you. We need to heal the country. We need transformative leadership in the country. I don't hate people that are MAGA people. I don't hate left-leaning people. What I love is I love America, and I think we've got to cut it out, and we've got to agree to disagree agreeably and get back to the consensus building that our grandparents and our great-grandparents had that made the country so successful.
All right, I got
all of this polarity.
I got a question for you that gets off of Trump, and it's more systemic in orientation. So you started out at Wall Street and Goldman, and then you started your own investment firms, successful. Wall Street's influence on our politics, Wall Street's influence in the White House. Every Treasury Secretary seemingly is from Morgan Stanley or Goldman. Is that a healthy alliance or an unhealthy one? Has it been a healthy or an unhealthy one? The big banks and Washington.
It's been very unhealthy, and I would also say something to you that Citizens United, which was the decision was rendered in January of 2010, has also been very unhealthy because that, just for your listeners' benefit, that citizen at the Supreme Court said you could spend unlimited money in the political system, and so that's benefited big pharma, big food. It's benefited the military-industrial complex. It's benefited Wall Street. Wall Street got huge handouts in the 2008 financial crisis as a result of all that, and I think it's damage. And this is the point I'm trying to make. You have to amend that document. That document, that U.S. Constitution, was supposed to be a living document. The last amendment we had was in 1993, which was procedural. The last transformative amendment was in 1965. And guys, just too long ago. Okay, that's 59 years ago. And so we need things to make the system fairer. We need things to protect us from this oligarchy of 80-year-olds that are running the country. We need newer leadership. You guys know what gerrymandering is. I submit to you rhetorically, should the politicians be picking the voters? I thought in a democracy, the voters pick the politicians. But in our democracy, the politicians actually pick the voters. And our districts now look like jigsaw puzzles that none of us could recognize. But they used to look like geometric shapes that all of us could recognize from ninth grade geometry. So I'm with you. And I'm willing to call balls and strikes on both sides. I can't stand the woke culture. I can't stand the arrogant radical left. But I'm also suggesting to you that you don't want the system to break. There's a very large group of people on the radical right that want to break that system.
Anthony Scaramucci, managing partner of Skybridge Capital, briefly served as White House comms director under Trump, author of the just-released book, From Wall Street to the White House and Back, The Scaramucci Guide to Unbreakable Resilience. The Mooch, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for the conversation, guys. I appreciate it.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line. Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer. I don't know. What do you want to do?
I think between that FBI guy and the
Yep.
mooch, we might have to give some people some chance to air some things out. I'm a little upset, but you can take the give and take. But go ahead, give us a call at 8:38, and maybe we'll get to a little sports and politics segment about Caitlin Clark too.
312-642-5600. Grab a line. But now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
This morning we have 72 degrees, mostly cloudy skies in Chicago right